Hey y'all, welcome back to the party. It is me, your girl BrittReacts, and today, well, the girlies are fighting. This video is going to be about Simone Biles facing fierce backlash after clash with Riley Gaines over trans athlete debate. Let's see what they have to say.
Olympian Simone Biles faces fierce backlash after clash with Riley Gaines over trans athletes debate. Biles called Gaines truly sick over her stance on trans athletes competing in women's sports. Seven-time Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles received harsh backlash on social media after the gymnastics star sparred with former 12-time NCAA All-American swimmer Riley Gaines over the debate surrounding transgender athletes competing in girls' and women's sports. Gaines, a former University of Kentucky swimmer and current Outkick contributor and host of the Gaines for Girls podcast, took to X on Friday to call out the Minnesota State High School League for posting a picture of the new state champions, Champlin Park High School. The school has made headlines because its dominant performance on the way to the title game was led by junior pitcher Marissa Rothenberger, a transgender athlete competing on the team.
Okay, so over the weekend, I think this happened. And all right, I've made it very clear on my channel where I stand with allowing children under the illegal adult age of medical consent or whatever to transition. I just feel it's best, obviously, respect how children feel. If they're coming to you with this, get them the necessary doctors, therapists, and other channels to help them navigate whatever it is they're experiencing, but not to make any finite or hormonal or permanent changes to them or allowing them to make those decisions until perhaps they are old enough to vote is really where I stand. I just think we have to give these kids a fair chance to really get through the hormones, the the puberty, the societal pressures and all the things they're learning and facing and being exposed to, and allow them to get to a certain place before we take such an extreme measure. That is my personal opinion. I do not ever put my opinions on other people or shame people for feeling differently than me, because who am I? You know what I mean? And I think for me, that is where I feel this all went wrong. I know of Riley through the swim situation where the transgender athlete was in the locker room with this transgender athlete, was a biological male, transitioned into womanhood. It was in the locker room with women, watching women undress, disrobe, yada, 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 and then went on to win races, which kind of ignited this whole trans athlete movement and kind of protests that have happened. And Riley has gone on to kind of be the face and the poster child for the people that are against trans athletes going into the sport that they were not biologically born into. Simone Biles is an Olympic champion. She knows what it takes to do the work. I'm sure she also understands the biological differences between male and female. There's all those trending videos of like male gymnasts trying to do the female gymnast skills and vice versa, and they like can't do them. And I think that is such a perfect picture for biology and what men and women can do really well and maybe can't. With that being said, if someone is born a biological male and transitions into a woman and they dominate the sport in both ways, like I think that also just speaks to their athleticism, if you ask me. But that's a different conversation for a different day. That's just me always trying to find some good and some silver lining and have some respect, because I think there's a lack of respect so often in our country when we just disagree. It's like we can be respectful and disagree. And so I guess Riley commented on, I'm learning Twitter, guys. I'm on Twitter now. Go follow me. It's in my description down below. Riley retweeted and commented on this school's post about the team winning, and she mentioned the unfairness of their star person on the team being a biological male. And Simone came back and bit back pretty like rah, like she went off in a way that I think I think we have to stop telling people they need to I don't know. I think we have, maybe, I don't know, guys. I struggle. Should or could Simone have been approached it differently in the way she spoke and her tone that she wrote her response tweets? Sure. But did she have the right to say it in the way that she said it? Yes. And I say this because Riley, in Simone's opinion, is a bully in the way that she is trying to advocate for this issue. She's not being respectful or kind. She's kind of being nasty, rude, and bullying. And I don't think that helps. But I don't know if Simone's approach was helpful either. So we'll keep watching this and I'll keep telling you my opinion on it. But that is like where I understand this whole thing to have started. And sometimes I just wish that, like, you know, maybe whether you think Riley is right or wrong or Simone is right or wrong, I think it's what I say here on this channel. Why can't we just give our opinions without being so nasty, cold, awful to one another? Like, at the end of the day, we are all humans living a human experience one time on this earth. Can we be kind?
The photo posted on X had the comments disabled. In response to Gaines' criticism of the post, Biles posted a message calling Gaines truly sick over her stance on trans athletes. She even launched a personal attack at Gaines. "You're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race. Straight up sore loser," Biles said, referencing Gaines competing against former UPenn swimmer Leah Thomas at the 2022 NCAA Championships. "You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Maybe a transgender category in all sports. But instead, you bully them. One thing's for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around." The post went viral on social media, with Biles adding in another post, "Bully someone your own size," which would ironically be a male. But Biles, the most decorated gymnast in history, a feat she accomplished at the Paris Olympics, faced fierce backlash for her comments on social media. Many on social media also pointed out Biles' call for open categories in all sports. In 2022, World Aquatics, the international governing body for swimming, updated its eligibility policy to effectively ban transgender athletes from competing in women's events. The following year, the organization launched and debuted an open category at the World Aquatic Swimming World Cup in Berlin. The organization later confirmed that upon the close of registration, no entries had been received for the open category. Biles is an 11-time Olympic medalist.
Okay, so I do think, again, Simone went in like, you can't call somebody a bully by bullying them. And this is where I think I was just like, oh, girl, you could have maybe had people rally behind you and been for your stance and your position to create a new category for trans athletes. But you went in and called somebody a bully by bullying her. You called her sick, and then you alluded to her size being that of a man. And that is where it's like your entire argument is defeated by the meanness of it all, in my opinion. I like Simone Biles. I think she is an incredible athlete. From what I know of her in the media and, like, you know, her documentaries and things, I think she's a good person. But I think this was an emotional response. Perhaps she's been really frustrated, and, you know, reading a lot of Riley's tweets, I think Riley can be unnecessarily harsh trying to get her point across. And it's like, being mean doesn't help when you're trying to change something, right? Like, and Riley's trying to change this whole situation with trans athletes, specifically men being able to compete against biological men, being able to compete against biological women in sports. But it's like, do you have to be mean and bully and make fun of people or all these things? No, you don't. But then Simone, you also don't need to come in and also be mean and bully Riley. It's just like, it was so counterproductive to me. I'm sure there is absolutely a conversation that can be had about creating a category for trans athletes so that they aren't ostracized and shamed and, you know, pointed at and all these other things. That would take tons of time and tons of change, I'm so sure. But I don't think Simone coming in with here's my thing. Here's my biggest thing, and I say this all the time. Don't come to a problem with an opinion and you don't have some form of a solution. And I think in this regard, right, Riley may have said what she needed to say. And I don't know what, I think Riley's whole solution is just like, just cut it out. You're biologically this, then you are going to compete against that. And Simone is like, well, what if, like, instead of you bullying, you try to help the community and advocate for making it fair for everybody and just creating a new thing. You know what I mean? And so at least Simone showed up with an option. I don't know. And then, you know, these are young high school kids. It's like for an adult to go online and kind of like these are high school kids. They have enough to worry about. They are navigating so much, and then adding the decision to be trans, I'm sure can't be easy. So it's just like, I don't know. I feel like, again, we could all advocate for the things we want to advocate for without being unkind and making people feel bad. Probably people that already are being made to feel bad or trying to figure it out inside. But that's just me being naive and, you know, just wanting kindness to rule instead of what rules. So yeah.
Been received for the open category. Biles is an 11-time Olympic medalist. She holds 30 world championship medals, including a record 23 golds. She has not responded on social media following her initial posts aimed at Gaines.
And she won't.
Simone Biles took aim at former U.S. NCAA swimmer turned conservative pundit Riley Gaines on Friday over the latter's recent comments advocating for the exclusion of trans athletes in women's sports. Gaines was among more than a dozen college athletes who filed a lawsuit against the NCAA in March 2024, accusing it of violating their Title IX rights by allowing transgender swimmer Leah Thomas to compete at the national championships in 2022. In that championship, Thomas and Gaines tied for fifth, but only Thomas was handed the fifth-place trophy in the 200-yard final. Since then,
so
Gaines has become an activist staunchly opposed to having trans athletes in women's sports.
I, for some reason, thought that they both placed, like, in the top three. I never knew it was fifth. It's like, we're giving trophies for fifth place anyway. Like, when did that start happening? Let alone now you have two players that tie and you decide to only give it to one person. It's ridiculous. And Riley has every right to champion for what she feels is right in the same way that Simone does. But again, this, like, back and forth bullying, not only is it unnecessary, but it helps no one. It helps no one and no cause. It just helps further divide and make people think it's okay if they're seeing these professional athletes and professional commentators and all these things get online and be unkind to strangers. You know what I mean? And then Riley bit back, and I'm sure they'll talk about it. She came back and said something about Larry Nassar and the whole case where Simone was a part of his victim list. And, you know, she surely did not take the high road. But I also don't think she started the fight. So, you know, she said what she said. I don't know what else to say. I'm definitely not into victim shaming, but I think Riley was essentially just saying, like, I would assume that someone who has been victimized by a man in a woman's sport, you would not show up and advocate in the way that you are. I think that was Riley's point. But again, when you are just now spewing insults back and forth, kind of the point gets lost, in my opinion.
Recently, Gaines's commentary has also included spotlighting and in some cases vilifying transgender youth for their involvement in women's and girls' sports.
Yeah.
On Friday, she targeted the Minnesota State High School League for not allowing comments on their post about the Chaplin Park girls team celebrating the state championships. Chaplin Park's team includes a trans athlete. Comments off, lol, Gaines commented in a post on X, to be expected when your star player is a boy. Biles, an outspoken campaigner for mental health awareness throughout her career, quickly criticized Gaines's comments on social media.
I think the school was 100% right to protect their athletes and these teen girls and transgender athlete from any more criticism, speculation, bullying, online bullying from adults. Because let's be clear, it would have all been adults. It would have been adults trashing these kids, and it's like, it wouldn't have changed anything. It wouldn't have helped anything. So I think, in my opinion, the school was 100% right to turn those comments off and just celebrate their win and let whoever decides they're wrong. And if they want to go in and appeal, fine, but like, protect those kids. Because again, they are children, and even the athlete who is transgender is still a minor and should not be subject to online bullying from grown adults. No matter whether I agree with the decision that this child was allowed to transition or not, I'm not going to go online and badger and further harass this child because I'm sure the child has enough going on in their life. Don't you think that? It's not your place. Don't you think that? Like, why do we need to be mean?
Mental health awareness throughout her career, quickly criticized Gaines's comments on social media. "You're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race," Spile said. "Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Maybe a transgender category in all sports. But instead, you bully them. One thing's for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around." She added, "Bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male." Gaines responded to Biles in follow-up posts, saying the 7-time gold medalist stance on transgender athletes was so disappointing and labeled her a male apologist at the expense of young girls' dreams. The former swimmer insinuated that Biles should participate in men's gymnastics due to her viewpoints. Maybe she could compete in pommel horse and rings in 2028, Gaines said. Gaines also brought up Larry Nassar, a former national team doctor who sexually abused multiple U.S. gymnasts, including Biles, under the guise of medical treatment. All the horrific sexual abuse at Simone Biles witnessed and spoke out against caused by one man, yet believes women should be forced to strip naked in front of men to validate the man's feelings. You know how many gold...
Now, to be fair, I don't think Simone said that or insinuated that. I think Riley, again, they just kept taking the low road. Girl, do your thing. But I don't think that is what Simone was advocating for in any way. I think she was just trying to say, like, you don't have to be mean. Instead, we could be figuring out a way to make this work. Unfortunately, the way she did it, in which clouded, I think, maybe her purest intentions and made it just seem nasty and ugly. And then it was a nasty, ugly little Twitter war.
Strip naked in front of men to validate the man's feelings. You know how many gold medals you'd have if your inclusive dream came true? 0.
Well, there you have it. Let me know your take on this, as always, here on the BrittReacts channel. I can't speak for any other corner of the internet. I do not condone, accept, or allow any unkindness in my comments. Whether you disagree with me or not, I don't care. I learned so much from the people that disagree with me, and that's totally fine. But if you can't do it by being kind and you feel the need to do it by being nasty, ugly, or bullying, take it somewhere else, all right? Thank you for watching, and go and have the day you deserve. Bye.